Right. We are back in business.
Hope you had a good lunch and
Oh,
dinner.
yes. Well, lunch, yes. Life also good. Yes, had a tree company coming over lunch, looking at one of our trees that we have in the backyard.
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, that one is going to come down. You can decide on when. Either planned or not planned. Or like, I would like planned. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've seen some of your old trees, and I think planned is probably the move.
It must be like 150 years old. It's a not small tree.
Is it still that one that's close to the house?
No, this one is further away, but
Oh,
we
okay.
have that one to deal with also.
Ah,
Fun stuff.
oh yeah.
Trees. Yeah. All right. Trees would be the appropriate discussion for an Active Directory training, but into not so many trees. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. As we mentioned here, the grand final. It's been a fantastic week so far, and the plan is to end it with a nice sprint here. There we are. Troubleshooting is the topic. Any questions before we move on? Questions at all? Because now is last next couple of hours is pretty much it. This is your chance. All right, maybe later. Sounds good to me. The day is not over yet. Well, let's see. Got my notes real quick. We finish up the cloud side nicely there.
Sammy did have a question here in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Uh, when conditional access targeting Intune enrolled corporate mobile devices is not working as expected because Enter ID doesn't have some device info such as join type and device ID. Are there options to handle this situation?
I have no idea. I don't do any work with mobile devices. What I would recommend doing though is the following. I'm going to share my screen here.
All right.
There's a couple of windows. Let's see if you can see this okay.
Yep.
All right. So if you go to our academy and you will find the community here. Once you enroll into that community, because it's an opt-in, you don't have to sign up or anything. You just have to say, yes, I would like to be part of it. Then you will have that available. And if you post a question in the Intune forum and tag Jan and Sandy, they would know how to answer that question, because I don't, unfortunately. Eddie seems to have a couple of ideas there, but that would be probably the best way. Don't expect a reply until Monday, though. It is late evening now in Europe. Well, late and late. It's 8 p.m., but I hope they are not working right now. All right, cool. Any other questions? In a timely fashion to you, Andrew. That was just the stuff that Matthias shared earlier today.
Yep. Yeah, and I did.
Posted.
If you saw in my post there, I didn't mention it last night because it was so fresh and didn't even know. I did confirm at the bottom of the page that the stuff's processed in browser.
That is good. So it's not really uploaded anywhere.
Yeah.
That is a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sam is asking what options exist to notify an admin every time a device is enrolled into Intune. I mean, it's in the audit logs. Azure Monitor, probably.
Yeah, Azure Monitor, PowerShell and Graph, Power Automate. I would probably, depending on how busy the environment is, you'd probably want to run it, in batches. Um, but yeah, right off the top of my head, those would be the solutions.
Yeah. I hope that helped. All right.
There's another question here too. What is the best way to identify which policy is applying a setting to a Windows device?
Ooh, that would be well, two things. First, because we had that question earlier, it came in. Right away when you go to the Intune dashboard here, this is where you will see an overview if you have any policies with conflicts, with issues. There was a question about that earlier in the chat. And of course, if you click that one, it will take you to that policy with a conflict. So beautiful. So basically, there is a fairly new feature called assignment failures, or it's a preview. So it will show up there. So that's a good overview to take you to that place. Now, back to the original question here. If I go to one of my devices, any of them here that I have, and head over to configuration. This is where I see all policies that I've applied to this specific device. But we mentioned earlier, there is this Intune device details tool. So let me go ahead and close Intune Manager and head over to a different folder. It's in my Intune folder. So I thought. Device. This 421 sounds reasonable to you, version-wise. Might not be the latest one, but it is a script that you run. When you run the script, it will connect the graph. And you simply search for the device you want to take a look at. So in my case, I want to look at 001 here, the device I was just showing you in the portal. What type of report will I like? A normal report, thank you very much. And it's now using graph. And you guys asked earlier about, okay, good sample for graph scripts. This is a fantastic script. Very well written, error handling, logging, and all that good stuff. So if you give this a moment to run, my tenant is fairly busy, as you can see. 117 configuration profiles, 25 assignments, 17 remediation scripts. This is a report of that device. So you have like this holistic overview of an entire device from a lot of different nodes in one page. Like what groups is a member of, what remediation script is targeted, do we have a problem, do we not have a problem? What about configuration policies? We have all of those policies here. And many of these actions here you can click on to get more details, whatever that might be. So for example, here, all applications, whether they were installed, waiting for installation, or downright if they didn't have any that failed. I usually have at least one that failed because I deployed one that usually fails. But this is, and there is a search here as well. And of course, all of this information, it is just brilliant, I think. So Intune device details, we had that link earlier in the slide deck. I can actually go ahead and post them right away in the chat. You don't have to wait until they get uploaded to the dashboard. That was my little quick hack with links. So if you get that over to Notepad, some cleanup. And then paste them here. And to answer Sammy's question, it's in the links I just shared. The Intune device details GUI by Petri. Good stuff. So again, community, amazing. All right. Abe, did you have a question there? I saw your hand where it was raised.
Yeah, so I'm just so I can understand the differences. So our config policies and Intune basically like GPOs and like remediation scripts are basically like SCCM config baselines.
Yes, sir. That's
that'd be a good
super
distinction.
accurate. Yeah, that's exactly how they should be viewed. And in general, you can port your configuration manager scripts almost out of the bat directly over to Intune. The only thing you need to take care of is what they return, because Intune is a little bit specific on what they expect to be happy or non-happy, like success and failures. But the script themselves you can use as is. Just make sure they return what Intune expect them to return. So for example, for happiness, for a detection script, it won't say a little string and it won't an exit code optionally. And if there is nothing back, so cool. So I mean, there are so many examples out there that you can borrow. And even just doing a Google search like sample Intune remediation scripts, you will find collection after collection after collection.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Of course. Eddie had a hand up as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I put a question in the chat, but I think it got lost.
Sorry about that.
Can you configure conditional access to block access for a specific compliance policy, or is it just like an all or nothing kind of thing where if the device is marked non-compliant, then conditional access will block it? Does that make sense?
So pretty certain it's all or nothing.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Because the grant control is around device compliant.
Okay.
It's a great question.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
Morgan had a question as well.
Okay.
Where'd it go? There it is. I have a bunch of ideas for how we can expand our device inventory with Intune now to feed log analytics so we can run some reports with less impact to the devices than what we have in place now. Is there anywhere I can find the fields available in Graph to pull in? Wonder if I can check to make sure the data my customers want is available and find which ones are best to get the info we want.
Well, in terms of remediation script, you can collect absolutely any data that you want, because the tables that you construct are custom. They can look, you can have any number of fields in those tables. If you're referring to the built-in stuff, you can of course just go into that. If you want to see what's available in the tools.
So I guess I'm wondering more like, is it kind of like when we query WMI, is it like a WMI type database thing where I need fields, or Because I mean, I can think of a billion things that I would like to report on, but I don't know what field names they would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's really no restriction. It's you that creates what those fields should be named. When you create your own
Oh, okay.
tables, you define what they should be.
Okay. So graph is like, it's obviously not WMI, but you can kind of think about it that way a little bit, or no?
Not really. Graph is more of a programmatic access to an API to everything that is controlling,
Oh,
not just
okay.
Intune, but Teams and SharePoint and all the other stuff that we have in the cloud.
So it's not one central repository, it's just connectors into different ones.
You can view it as that. It's a single endpoint that you can talk to feed instructions to. And there are so many of them. And yeah, you did it in Monday when you started to play around verifying that you had the right licenses or not. Just even the Graph Explorer that was mentioned here also, I think by Sandy, she definitely showed the X-ray part in their session. But in here to the left, you have a lot of examples that you can tap into. Okay, what can I do in Microsoft Teams? Well, these would be
yeah, okay. This is perfect. Yeah. I must not have been paying attention. No, I'm sure I was. I'm sure it just came, I can only hold so much. But yeah, okay, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Of course. And then we have that introduction video that we shared the link to earlier. It's also a good one to review, because that gets you started with Graph. All right, cool.
I also dropped in the chat the actual API reference for list managed devices and get managed devices as well. Though I think your example of using Graph Explorer is probably going to be a little bit better because you can see live data. But at least you have this reference that shows you exactly what's available on the Intune device objects.
Yeah. I mean, it often comes down to I know you mentioned this, Andrew, because we use this for troubleshooting also, so it's kind of related, or it is related. It's not kind of related. Where we often have scripts for specific tasks that will help us do something. Like you mentioned, the policy sync option script. So don't be too scared about the PowerShell in here. But if you look at the concept, all right, we are specifying something to connect to. We are connecting to that tenant using these permissions. And then here is a one-liner that retrieves all devices based on what version they are on Windows. Or if I want to get all Windows devices, I have that. And then we do something in those devices. In this case, this is a code that is required to force a sync. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Here. So I'm connecting, I'm retrieving data, I get a list, and then for each item in that list, I do something. That is like a very, very common scenario. Or we talked about BitLocker recovery at some point here. We might want to see, do we have devices that are missing recovery keys, or do I want to have a backup of the recovery key somewhere? So if something happens, I still have them in a vault somewhere where I can retrieve them on a, I don't know, USB stick, something. So that was very, this type of solutions were very handy 2 years ago in the summertime where CrowdStrike hit the world. And keys were required to make changes into boxes. And for people that had them, great. For people that didn't have them, hard. So, sidebar. All right. So Andrew took us through the server side of the troubleshooting part, and now we're going to spend some time on the client. And quite frankly, that is where you'll be spending most of your time when doing more advanced troubleshooting, because you have what you have in the portal. It doesn't really change much. But on the client, we have so much more things that can happen on different types of devices, different stuff that has been on them before, etc. So what I found useful over the years is actually using reports for troubleshooting. And if the information is not enough, what I have, you extend it. And you can retrieve that information through Graph, as we mentioned. You can port it into other solutions like Azure Monitor. You can smack it up into log analytic workspaces. You can even set up separate databases where you store additional information that you want to play around with. I don't see this one being used much. It does exist still, but very rare that I see folks using it. It's much more common to have log analytics and you just pay for the usage, which is practically nothing, unless you are, I think it was Maurice that mentioned at one point, they had a customer that decided to upload their SQL logs, transact logs up to Azure Log Analytics, and it was a good couple of $1,000s a month just to do that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe not the best idea for it. Inventory data, much better idea. 6 million log lines, less good idea. But long story short, when you go to reports here, of course, you have them split out in each and every area of reports. You can also go directly, if you go to the device node and you hit monitor, this is where you see a shortcut to all device monitoring reports. And they are nicely categorized these days. I forgot when they added this in, like maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, that we have these colored, what type of report is it? But for example, this one here, we mentioned at some point, this used to be the troubleshooting report for BitLocker, and they just renamed it to device encryption status. And when you have that report, you get this information. So all of these different areas with reporting in, I think are very, very useful. Stuff that I like particularly in reports is when, because not all nodes have it, but compliance has it. It's not just, okay, how am I doing right now, but more of how am I even remotely improving, or is things getting worse? The things that I'm doing in my tenant, are they helping? So I like this one here where you can see how it's been going on for the past months. And you can see that my compliance has dropped significantly just now in the beginning of May here. Now, I happen to know why I turned those machines off. And it's really hard to get compliant box if it's not running. So yeah, let's see. Abe was asking, I thought we have 1 year access to the materials in the class. Everything that we have up in the dashboard, recording, slides, the videos that we create here at the live sessions, we guarantee they're available for at least a year, but not the lab environment. This is only for the week. It would be nice to be able to give each of you your own server for life as part of the class, but I don't have that big of a data center, and it unfortunately would be very nice. We did that many years ago. We were basically having it was a data center class. We did it in Sweden, and as part of the fee for the class, which was about twice what you're paying here, but you also got a server to bring with you home. So you work with that server the entire week. It was an HP microserver, and you run all the VMs on that one, and then you carry it under your arm and you left on Friday. So that was pretty cool. Sam is asking, lab as a service. Yes, we have been discussing it. Problem is the cost. The reason we are hosting everything ourselves is that to run our labs in general for one student is $1,000 a week. if I were to run that same workload in Azure. And that adds up a little bit in the end. Lab as a service. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Like a software as a service, but offering a lab as a service. It's an interesting idea. We haven't done it. I know of a company that does. Their name of Extreme Labs. They're based out in Redmond. So maybe can work something with them. They offer all like the official curriculum type classes that Microsoft has. But unfortunately, the lab is only available here this week because we reuse these machines for every training. So we can't give you those for a year. But everything that we have up on the dashboard, recordings and all the material is available for at least a year.
Are you hosting on that big HP server you were bragging about a year ago?
Well, we have a couple of ways to host things here. For example, all of these machines over here, Rogue 1 through 50, they are dedicated physical hardware, each and every one of them. These I have down here, they are nested VMs that runs VMs inside of them. I can show you an example. So it's basically, I have a beefier or a couple of beefier workstations, like, you know, they are decent machines, have a 0.5 terabyte of memory and 72 cores and tons of hard drive space, probably 10 terabytes or more hard drive, 12. And on each of those, we also run rogue servers, where each and every rogue server is a Hyper-V host that has, you know, Hyper-V in it with more VMs running.
So you're running nested Hyper-Vs?
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to have a blog post on that, would you?
Probably.
Never mind, I can check. It's cool.
What I like about it is that the entire lab is just a single file. If I want to take a snapshot, I can do that of the entire lab, not just the individual VMs. Or if I want to copy it somewhere and copy and paste the file, I just copy my lab over to a new host. This one would be a start, I'll say. So in our labs here, when I create these, I have a PowerShell script that I run, that I'm just specifying, okay, these are the ones I want to build, and then I build them. And it takes like 10 minutes to build 15 or 20 hosts. But it does allow for some flexibility in class. And it's pretty cool. Even if you guys have a Windows 365 PC, you know, that you're hosting with Microsoft, this is a fairly nice one. So this one has a 32 gigs of memory. I can run VMs in that one. It supports nesting. The shinier Windows 365 machines supports nesting. And they have a fixed price in Azure or in wherever they are hosted. So no surprises there. We often use that when we work with customers. We do application testing or configuration testing. They will not give us 7 machines. They will give us a Windows 365 PC, and then we create VMs in it where we do all the testing. So I'm still in the customer's boundary without having 7 machines. Yes, Abe, was a question there?
Hey, so for folks that don't have any older machines, we can repurpose. What do you think is the most cost-effective way to have either a subscription to a lab environment or access to a lab environment to actually play around and break things and learn? Like, what are there certain vendors out there, or just trying to find a best cost-effective way to have a little lab?
The most effective way is doing something like this.
It
buy
used to be a
something
lot
that is
more.
old, but not so old so it won't run Windows 11. And this is a good example. You can find a micro. I'm not sure why they call it minor. It's a micro, but you can find a good enough PC to run what we are doing in the lab here, because that's exactly what we are running in the lab here.
Used to be a lot more cost effective before hard drives and memory went up.
Yeah, but still, you can get this fully equipped with enough for a couple of $100s. So even though memory has been skyrocketing, those pre-configured used machines, they haven't tripled in price just because memory has tripled in price. Oh, and Marcelo's comment there, Intel NUC devices, fantastic. I guess they're Asus now because they were sold and acquired, but yes, there are many micro PCs that are well capable of running a lab. We have up on our academy, we have might have mentioned that Monday. Oh, don't get old if you don't have the chance.
But it just keeps happening.
I know. This is an hour and a half, also a free course about building a lab, picking the right hardware, getting everything set up. But price-wise, there is nothing that beats having an used PC as your lab. You can have like 10 VMs running on that one. It won't even flinch. And that is just an amazing learning tool. And those machines are quiet. They don't draw any CPU at all. Some of them runs on a 65-watt adapter, like nothing. But yeah. A little bit sidebar, but great questions. I appreciate that for sure. Now, back to the troubleshooting part. The reports are fantastic. Even endpoint analytics, I think that information is helpful, because this is where we start to see things like start performance, how our machine are doing on a model basis. Do we have startup processes that are interfering with something? How about application reliability? Do we have any crashes that we need to worry about in our environment? This one I don't use too much, but we do have performance against others. In here, in the Windows node, we actually have some of the readiness state for Windows 11, but the other reports are better for that, or resource performance, how we're doing, and battery health if you have a lot of laptops with batteries and whatnot. But using reports as a troubleshooting tool, I like. Using the remediation scripts as reports, I like. Where you just use them to quickly gather information, give it to me right away. Don't need to wait for permission to have Azure Log Analytics configured or pay for it. I just need data. I've lost count the number of times I work with customers. They have a specific problem. I don't have access to every single device. They won't give me admin access immediately to all of their devices, but they do give me access to Intune. Very quickly create a remediation script that collects what you need, deploy it, and run it within the hour. You can set that, or do it on a per machine basis through that, direct remediation as you did at a lab if it's just one machine. But again, you can very quickly get details like you otherwise won't have available to you. Is this kind of like the CM Pivot or Run Script in Config Manager, or at least the closest thing that we have? Because when we work with device queries in Intune, we only have available what's there. I can only search for stuff that is like collected. With the remediation script, I can collect any info I like. So, anywho. Here are a couple of hard drives. Now, this one is a good friend as well. When you talk to your colleagues, something happens in the environment, it's like, what did you do? Nothing. let's take a look, shall we? Because everything that you do in Intune is heavily audited. So if you head over to Intune tenant, I did not mean to click the Camtasia recorder. I was about to click Edge. When you are in tenant administration here, you have the audit logs. We mentioned that a couple of times. They were also part of what we put together. But even here, the last, I don't know, couple of hours here, in that time range, I see exactly what's going on here. I see that Patch My PC has been in my environment creating applications for me. If I extend this time frame a little bit, maybe a couple of days back, I will see other stuff. Apparently, I was working with a CIS benchmark configuration here on the 9th, so that must be Tuesday. I was showing device configurations. So you see every single thing that happens in the tenant, and that can be useful for troubleshooting as well. It's the same way as you have in Config Manager, you have audit reports. So if someone fat finger a deployment and deployed to 1,000 devices, there is no saying, no, I didn't do it. And it's like, oh, yes, you did. It is right here. You did that. So I like this to be able to see, okay, we had an issue at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, or maybe not Sunday, Monday. What happened before that? Go back in time and check. I found that very, very useful. And well, it's not just audit logs that can be useful. It could be related to, shall we say, identity also.
Absolutely. Quite a few logs available to us on the Entra side as well. Go ahead and borrow the screen here for a little bit.
Hey,
Yeah,
quick
that
question.
was
Quick question, Johan.
Yeah.
Doesn't Intune have the secondary admin or allow admin to do an action that has to go to another Intune admin? I forgot what that was called.
Multi-admin approval
Yeah.
gained a lot of traction after the Striker incident.
Oh yeah, absolutely. System Center dudes have a really nice post about that. It's been around for years, but people didn't start to use it until very recently, where Striker had the 200,000 devices wiped.
Mm-hmm.
The admin approval, System Center dudes. They are a good crowd of smart people. So this is a good post. I will share the link to that one. And this was also an area where I was hoping that, AI would be more involved with some sort of intelligence. Think of it this way. Okay, this organization normally wipes 4 devices per day on average. Now there is a request for 200,000, probably above the average at this point. We probably should stop it right away. So I'm hoping to see more of that stuff implemented it into in the coming years. Agents left and right. Yeah. It's a challenge also if someone gets access to your tenant as a global admin, they can create more admins. So they can create one to do the request and another to approve it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it will slow them down at least. But privileged access management, brilliant. Can afford to get the shiny licenses, even more brilliant. All right, back to you, good sir.
All right. There we are. So we are working with Entra so much that I often find myself referencing logs on that side as well to determine what's happening or not, frankly, with my users, my groups, and devices on the Entra side of things. So if we head over to the Entra Admin Center, go down to Monitoring and Health, and look at those audit logs, we'll see quite a bit going on here as well. For example, we'll see update devices. This is something that just a little bit of cleanup that I was doing while we were chatting. But you'll see those kinds of things happening. You'll see group deletion happening, update applications, just a whole bunch of different information. And it's not just admins doing things like these. Here you can see what was going on while we were doing our RBAC demo earlier. Andrew adding Bob to the marketing device reviewers group, for example. But then down here, we have device registration service doing some things, updating devices in here. We can, of course, click on each one of these and see what exactly was updated. So we had a specific device that was updated and some information about it here. Device ID, device OS type, and trust type.
But the detail level is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is. But this works great for some quick ad hoc review of your audit logs. You, of course, have some nice filtering in here and everything. But as your tenants grow larger and busier, you may find that filtering through something like PowerShell can be more efficient. And so if we go over here,
You happen to have some scripts.
we do. There it is. This is the one I was looking for. And we do have this up on GitHub already, so I'll share the link here shortly. But with a little bit of PowerShell and some graph and hopefully not too many errors in your VS Code terminal, we can use our Microsoft Graph PowerShell module, connect to our tenant here. You do want, when you're reading audit logs, you do need the audit log.read.all permission.
Surprise.
Yeah. Clever Dane. And from here, we can kind of see the exact same things. Like, for example, if we want to look at all of the Entra audit logs that are in the category of devices, we can run this command right here. And we're going to get back all of these device logs. There's a lot of information here, but I don't necessarily need to see all of this in the output. So because we're using PowerShell, we can actually start filtering on this output a little bit more. Start, for example, by just saying, let's look at the last 14 days. What's going on with devices here in Entra? So we add in a filter for 14 days ago, and then add on to that right here in our PowerShell commandlet. So these are just, this isn't a full-blown script. These are just some examples on what you can run, some of the filtering and things like that you can do against these logs. We can look at all of the actions that have been taken by Intune against Entra. So Intune, the service itself, is doing things with Entra. So here we see the device registration service. This is updating information about devices over in Entra. Or, for example, we have a couple of devices in here that are running into some issues, which we can also look at. Let's, instead of filter by which application is performing an action, what if we want to look at things that just failed? Easy enough. We just filter by result equals failure and then filter that out. So I've got, some devices here that failed because they already existed in Entra for some reason. So that's something I'm going to investigate. Or you can see I tried to delete some groups right here. Probably not something I need to investigate, because if I tried to delete a group that was already deleted, chances are that was just Andrew being impatient and hitting delete twice before Entra Admin Center caught up. But point is, you have all of these different things that we can filter on. And if we really want to pare things down a little bit, let's say we want to look at any action that was any add device action that resulted in a failure. And then we just want to know the name of the device that failed and the reason for it. So we can run a command like this right here. And now we're down to 4 different logs that show exactly what happened with a particular device. So just a few examples that we can use PowerShell for to filter this stuff down and get to useful information. But if we're using log analytics, we can utilize that as well. So we can send this audit log information directly to log analytics like we can with Intune. And if we click right here to log analytics, we can run the same types of queries. So in Entra, the Entra audit logs table is just audit logs. So we can say, let's go any audit logs that have been generated in the last 14 days, simple KQL query. We're going to see the same information that we saw with PowerShell. This is just another way to actually view it. Or if we wanted to look at actions taken by a specific user or admin, we can do that here as well. So any actions in the last 30 days taken by me or my admin account should be pretty busy throughout this week. And yes, it is. So this framework then is pretty similar for users, for groups, and for devices in Entra. And so again, the point here is that you have a lot of options to decide what's the best way for you and your organization to gather and work with this data. We can look at the audit logs right in the UI. We can filter them with PowerShell, of course, because it's really just graph in the back end. We can use any other number of languages. We can use C# and Python and JavaScript, not just PowerShell. And we can even use log analytics. So I use all of these pretty much just based on what I'm trying to accomplish. So a lot of options there. All right. Now, what if we go down to here? This is the one I'm looking for. About troubleshooting some devices, some actual devices, and seeing what we have available to us. So we've gone through quite a bit of this throughout the week. So a little bit of review here, but also a couple of extra tips I think that we'll pick up. Jürgen taught us a lot about logging from the client side on Tuesday morning, and took a look a little bit at the troubleshooting and support dashboard that we actually have in the Intune Admin Center, which is where we can pare down configuration conflicts, failures, app failures, conflicts, things like that, to a specific user and a specific device that user is the primary user on. So quite a few helpful things, I think, on the service side to grab that. So if we just head over to the Intune Admin Center, lost my train of thought because I just had a small child run into my office. Sorry about that. Not so small, but
They were small ones.
yes. All right. Anyways, back to troubleshooting. So I'm gonna head over to the troubleshooting and support page right here. Again, a number of options to get to this data, but starting here, we can look at, let's say a user calls into the help desk or your service desk. We can go over to the troubleshooting and support page, type in their name or their user principal name here. Actually, I'm going to pick a better one. Looks a little bit more like Jurgen's did the other day. they'll call up, we'll put in their name, and we get some basic checks here at the top, right? The account's enabled, the account's licensed. That's a great start. But this user has a whole bunch of stuff, um, a whole bunch of devices that they have enrolled into Intune. So they have all this extra information in here. That looks like for the things that we have assigned out to our devices in the organization, that looks like too many policies. So we want to go ahead and filter by a specific device. So let's say, for example, we select this device here, and you can see all of this get filtered down. And depending on what they're calling for, this may give us some good data. Like if they're calling for an application problem, I can go here and say, all right, let me look at their applications. From the Intune side, everything looks okay. Then maybe we can escalate it along. Or if you have a failure in here, we might be able to help do some basic troubleshooting or at least information gathering from this page here. Now, if we go across the top, you'll see information about these various resources. So the device that we filtered on, we see that it is compliant in Intune, it's compliant in Entra, and if we have any app policies assigned to it, those look good as well. I actually don't have anything here in this tenant though. And then we can go across and we see what groups the user is a member of. So we can validate, maybe they're not in the right license group, or maybe they're not in the right application group, depending on what issue they're having. We can review the policies that are assigned to them as well, both the user and the device. We can see the applications that are available to them. So company portal, I mentioned that's something that we often have assigned out to everybody, and that's what we can see here. App protection policy, I don't have any. Updates aren't going to show up here as either. If they are calling with an enrollment issue, you can actually verify which enrollment restrictions will apply to their account or the particular device that you filtered on, which can be very helpful. And then diagnostics will come back to shortly. So again, this is just sort of a nice starting point, single pane of glass type view for some basic information. Now, if we also want to get to a device for a particular user, we can go to users. We can type in the username here. We can click on their username. We can go to their devices, of which this user will have many. But that's a lot of clicks. There's an easier way to do this. This is one way to get to them. We can simply go to our devices, click on Windows, or you could go all devices if they have more than just Windows. And then we can just type in their name. And this is going to filter the entire list by what you've typed in here. So if we want to go to, let's say, this specific device, we can see what's available for this particular device. What information is available on a device object in Intune? We have the basics, right? We've seen this throughout the week. Primary user, who enrolled it, the name of it, when it was enrolled, the last time it checked in, serial number, all useful information. Up at the top as well, all of the different icons that we have available for remote tasks. We have our sync. We have our Defender scans that we can kick off from here, and a whole bunch of other actions that we can take, of course. Just one thing to point out is the icons on this old UI. Now, they fixed this in the new UI that Jurgen was using the other day, but if we look at a wipe and a fresh start, for example, same icons. These two pretty much do the same thing. So if you intend to do one, it's not going to be too much of a big deal, I would say, if you don't do the other. However, if we look at the restart and autopilot reset, those icons are also the same. One's going to restart the computer though, and the other is going to take the device all the way back to the enrollment workflow process, and it will have to be re-enrolled entirely. So keep an eye out for that. Pay attention to the names of these, not just the icons. But of course, as we go through here, down on the left side, different properties of the device. This is where Johan showed us earlier in the week. We can change the primary user of a device. We looked at the scope tags on the device, and we can actually see that this one that we used earlier has changed to marketing because it was part of that scope group that had the scope tag assigned. And then as we just go down the list here, device inventory, we were just looking at this a little bit ago. This is going to get some of that inventory information for you for a specific device. All apps, this is sort of a new unified page that is combining both the discovered apps and the managed apps. Now, the difference between these two things, managed apps are applications that you've assigned out in Intune. So they're considered Intune managed. Discovered apps are going to be any applications that Intune has discovered on the endpoint. So here in this all apps page, you'll see the things that I have assigned as available or required to either the primary user of the device or the device. And we can click on each one of these apps and see more information about the app lifecycle itself. It's always funny to me because the first event entry in this is always when the app was created. So I created the company portal app 3 years ago, almost to the day. And so that's always the first one in here, but it didn't get installed on this device until a few days ago. If there was an error, like an error code or something, it would show up here. And instead of this nice green checkbox, we would have a red and white X there, which would lead to some additional troubleshooting information. App inventory is going to be, again, anything that's discovered on the device itself. So we'll see, you'll probably see a lot of familiar ones in here. Most of these are going to be Microsoft Store apps or native apps in the operating system. So here's all your Bing search and Bing weather. And if we scroll down here, you'll see more, some .NET in there, Paint, all of that stuff is showing up as well. See the question here, how were these apps discovered? Directory crawl, registry, or add remove programs. One of them is through, one of the methods is through the new application inventory, which was configured through a config profile. And I just don't remember off the top of my head. Here we go. Right there. That's what we're looking for. So for the regular installed apps, those are going to be the apps that appear in add remove programs. And then all of these apps here are just store apps or modern apps that are installed on the device. And you can actually see when the refresh lifecycle is of these as well. So it's a combination, Richard, between these and the new app inventory feature. Yep, of course, great question. Now, device query, this we can use if we have, this is the one we determined as advanced analytics, I believe, earlier in the week. Hardware is going to show us hardware information about the device, total storage space, memory, TPM information, IP address, all of that. Again, discovered apps and managed apps. Eventually, these are going to go away. So you'll just find them here for right now. But that's where you'll find your discovered apps today. Compliance policies that are assigned to the device. Mine says it's in an error state because by default, if you don't have a compliance policy assigned, the default device compliance policy is going to show an error. Any configuration profiles, not only that are assigned, but if they have an issue, we'll see that here. App configuration are like your app protection policies. We don't have any right here. Local admin password, recovery, BitLocker recovery keys. Remember on these two, if you don't see them, make sure that you have the correct permissions in Entra. It may be that the recovery key is not here, but it may be that you don't have access to see them. But we have those available. User experience or some of the endpoint analytics information specifically for the device. Device diagnostics. For some reason, I requested this morning and this hasn't been uploaded. Jorgen went through these the other day, though. One thing I did want to share, just because I don't know if he shared the doc, because Tuesday was a long time ago. But the Microsoft documentation around this action really is quite good. So to see what information is collected by that collect diagnostics remote task. So just a little bit of a refresher. This is showing up in here, this device diagnostic information, from going to a device and clicking collect diagnostics. And everything that the device ends up collecting is right here in this doc. So we have the registry keys that it collects. There's a number of commands that are actually run on the device. Like we can, it exports what certs are in the search store. It will export the status of ds reg command, so we can determine what that looks like. IP config, and a whole bunch of other things that we might just run as admins anyways when we're doing some basic troubleshooting. Some event viewer logs are sent up, and a number of different files and directories. The nice thing that I like too about the collect diagnostics feature is that, say for example, see this collects the config manager logs, but if you have a device that is only managed by Intune, it's still going to send up a file, but it's just going to say no information or file doesn't exist. So it stays consistent across all of your diagnostic collections. Actually wonder if I do. Let's check this one. So this is again the zip file that we looked at on Tuesday. And here's what I'm referring to. So it's still trying to collect those CCM logs, but if it can't, it's just going to say no results. There's an error, which tells me the log didn't exist. I personally like that they've added that in rather than just having nothing be sent up. Make sure that everything is consistent. And I'm not sure why we're having trouble with this week. Actually, I mean, when he tried to do it on Tuesday, it was a little slow. And I'm surprised to see this not being uploaded 3 hours later. This was common, Johan, 5+ years ago, that it would take a while to get diagnostics logs, but these days I think it's usually less than 10 minutes in almost every time I do it. And the actual output is much better than it used to be. So yet another improvement on the Intune side. Group membership, this is going to show us what groups the device itself is a member of. Managed apps we looked at already. Any filters that are being evaluated on this particular device, we'll see them here. We're going to see the enrollment history of this device, so I can actually see when the device was enrolled. This happened to be, this actually checked the enrollment restriction, and this was when I enrolled the device, was on Monday evening. And then any remediations that we have assigned to this device as well. So I have a couple of custom remediations here that are gathering information for me. Really a lot of great stuff that we can do in here. In terms of troubleshooting the devices themselves, I'm often just collecting diagnostics first, because those collect diagnostics again are going to send up a lot of the information that if I were to sit down at a device, I'm going to run these commands, I'm going to check these logs. So that's largely what I'm doing in here. But this is, again, just to cover some of the options and tools that we have. There's a lot of reviewing that we can do in the Intune Admin Center before, bothering the user or having to remote in and work with the user and interrupt their workflow. unless they're in the middle of something that really requires your assistance immediately. So a lot of good stuff there. Anything else you'd like to share on that, Johan?
No,
All right.
good stuff.
So how about in terms of if we do have to remote to a device? It does happen, even devices that are out on the internet. What options do we have for that?
Well, can I steal the screen?
Of course.
So in general, using the Microsoft solution for remote access was fantastically expensive. Microsoft used during a technical preview for a brief few weeks have internet remote access through Config Manager. They quickly removed that. It was never released at any given point. Instead, Microsoft developed the Intune suite, and as part of the Intune suite at the time, you got remote help. It is a cloud-driven remote help desk type of solution. Buying it standalone was about $2 per user per month, something like that, or maybe $3.50, one of the two. Very, very expensive. It like $20-$30 a year per user just to be able to do remote help. Now, with the integration of this already down into the E3 license, it becomes much more interesting because a lot of you guys out there, you will have those licenses and can use it. So remote help has changed a little bit over the years, but Jürgen, again, I think he sleeps. He has a brilliant blog post on how to set up remote help for Intune. I'm going to share that one in the chat with you. What did I post? It has changed a little bit since, but not drastically, that this concept still apply. But it's basically two applications that you use to remote in on devices. Well, one application, but on two machines to do that. There is also, if you go over here to our administration node and our connectors, there are two TeamViewer connectors. We used to have one in our lab, but we ditched it because for 3 users, because we wanted one extra, it was still just a little bit over 2,000 a year for us. Whereas the remote help one was, well, even with, we only got 2 licenses for that one, but even with that, it was about $60. And last time I checked, $60 is a little bit less than 2,000 just to get remote help. I did record a video at the time when we set it up. I can show it what it looks like, but I don't have it configured yet anymore in my tenant. And this was the old connector. The new one looks a little bit different. But long story short, you need to go to TeamViewer and you need to buy a Shiny license. And as I mentioned, at that cost, at that time, it was that per month or a 3-session license. A little bit cheaper now, but still it's very costly. But long story short, after buying the right licenses, you will go into Intune, you will set up the connector, you have to authenticate into with your TeamViewer account, has to sign a couple of permissions. And when that was done, you can go to a device, see if I can time it somewhat. A little bit too late there, I think. Yeah, there. So when you hit those, buttons, then you have the new remote assistance session, and that will launch that TeamViewer integration. And at the time, it will integrate nicely with the company portal. So when you open up the company portal as a user, that would be a notification popping up at some point here. That was an installation failing, but you can also see that the note below it was that, okay, an admin wanted to control your session. And then that remote control session was done. The companies that I work with that still use TeamViewer, they usually don't run it with the integration. They use it as TeamViewer because those licenses are much, much cheaper. If you want a better solution, in my opinion, a little bit more expensive, ConnectWise is probably one of the best one out there. So why is ConnectWise so shiny? Well, the reason I like it is twofold. There is a tool section where you can extend with your own tools. I like that. It also was one of the first remote help tools that offered basically a backstage pass, where you can interact with the user as system without them knowing you were there. You didn't have to interrupt their work to do work on the device. They didn't have every single tool in Windows available, but most tool. Screen Connect, I see Marcelo's using there. Happy with that one. Awesome. There are so many different remote solutions out there. So whatever works for you guys, use it. The integration with Intune, I don't think really is worth the time or the price to get TeamViewer, for example, like that one. Yeah, Alan's comment there as well. Or Alan, that Beyond Trust, very popular Vanguard. I've seen that a lot of organizations using. So yeah, it's my little take on remote help. Anything you'd like to add there, Andrew? Oh, Ninja One, I didn't even know they had a remote help platform. I only seen their patching organization are using it for software updates. All right, cool. Learn something new every day. I saw the discussion in the chat there basically regarding, okay, what can we do with the audit logs if we want to have them elsewhere? Since there is integration with both Azure Event Hubs and Graph, you can send them to whatever you can connect to. Basically dump data every day or every weekend or whatever, and then upload it somewhere else. Maybe do some cleanup, upload it somewhere else. Summaries. Yeah, Nathan was also using Bomgar here, I see in the chat. All right, any other questions? Now is really the time, because very soon we will open up for the last labs of the day here. And that will be the end of it. Sounds harsh, but let's see, what would you recommend clean up for Windows? So basically two things that we mentioned it briefly. Intune has built-in cleanup of devices that are older than, haven't reported back in say 60 days. I think the maximum is 270 or something that you can configure. Entra doesn't have it. So for Entra, you need to do some custom stuff, and I believe you shared Torbjörn's post, Andrew.
Right this second I did.
Even better. I thought maybe you did it earlier this week, but memories, it could have been office hours also. Could have been.
I mean, we share it, I would say fairly regularly because this question comes up often. I mean, it's just like Config Manager, right? Config Manager has its own built-in cleanup, but you still have to deal with Active Directory. And in our case, even if you're fully cloud native, you have your Intune device object, you have your Autopilot device object, and you have your Entra device object that you have to deal with. And this should help.
Awesome. Yeah. To Richard questions, remote help in Intune absolutely worked. That was the link I shared from Jörgen's post as well. The reason that one wasn't too interested before was that it was fairly costly to deal with compared to a normal commercial solution. But now, since it becomes available in just a couple of weeks here in E3 and also, of course, in E5, I think I will see more organizations using that one. It doesn't even have remotely the same set of features as like a commercial solution like BombGuard or TeamViewer and others, but it will allow you to remote into a session, elevate processes and whatnot. So. Yeah, Sam has a follow-up comment there, the unattended or unsolicited access. I think they mentioned that was coming actually. Thinking of it for remote help.
I think so.
I'm sure that'll be an extra add-on premium feature.
Yeah, it'll be part of the E9 SKU. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things, that's another thing that and I'm positive you have, Johan, but something that we've dealt with regularly is folks being like, all right, cool, you can do all these nice things in Intune, but what about remote? We have Config Manager today, and it works very well. It's pretty hard to beat that remote app.
As long as you can see the device, yes.
Yeah.
It's harder when they're at home. No VPN, no nothing.
Yep. And in terms of native tools, I mean, our answer, unfortunately, is mostly, yeah, we agree. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, we'll still see improvements in that area.
Yeah.
Hey, Johan, with the adoption of Intune gaining strength and more and more config manager administrators heading toward retirement, do you think the config manager admins are going to be like COBOL programmers?
Well, one can hope. I would not mind to get a $3,000 hourly rate out of my today, but no, I don't think so. Simply because there are so many out there that it's been around for such a long time. I mean, there is always a risk there will be the scarce, but I think we don't. I don't think we'll see an immediate risk of losing config manager admins or that skill. Config manager numbers are finally dwindling down a little bit in the terms of like installed platforms, and Intune is increasing. Of course, those people will still need to find jobs, but no, I don't think so right now.
Do you think some of that might be because organizations think, and someone had mentioned this earlier, Intune is easy. Oh, we can just have our level 1 and 2 people manage Intune, and we'll get off config manager and these expensive config manager admins that have to run it.
So far, I have not seen that trend. I have seen pretty much the same level of like skills levels or experience level people doing the Intune administration as the folks that did the config manager administration, because it's still a systems management platform. If you know what you're doing, you can absolutely deploy something to every single device that does something to that device it shouldn't. So putting a junior admin as a global admin in Intune is probably not the optimal. It needs to be someone who's been around a little bit, I think. Delegating out work, absolutely. But I don't think the skill level would be different. It's not what I've seen so far, at least.
And for the companies that do think it's easy, it's just more consulting hours for you, right?
I wouldn't say that, but it's more than it's not super easy. I would agree that it's some extent.
I'm just saying that companies think it's easy, so they bring in people that don't have the skills for it, and you have to come in there and clean it up.
Well, yeah, that might be a valid point. Unfortunately, it is not easy, and they might think it easy, and Microsoft sure tries to tell everybody it is so easy. The real world, as you have seen just this week, and as you most likely have seen in your environments too, there are some complexity to it.
I have a quick question. I had internet outages yesterday, so this might have been discussed with Sandy. So is there a script, or what's the best way, if given of this? So we have a different department that's basically refreshing old equipment, and they're providing us with like serial numbers saying this equipment is going to a recycler. So what's the best method? And obviously, we're hybrid co-managed. Not too worried about the AD object, but what would be this best way to handle if giving a list of serial numbers to remove them from autopilot and maybe remove the Intune entry or object? Any thoughts? Because we're usually given this information after the fact, so it's not like we can go in and to retire the objects. I mean, we could, but it's after the fact, right? So,
I mean, the some sort of automation around it. Everything you can do in the console can be done through Graph. You can even have a bit of AI help. They'll do a little tool that allows you to just browse and pick that spreadsheet. Will show you a list of devices. You just double check them that it's actually devices that you wanted to read, and then you basically click remove, and the scripts in the back end will take care of cleaning up Intune and Entra and whatnot from those devices, retire them if needed. So some sort of automation there would definitely be a recommendation. Unless possible, you build by the hour, then you can just do them one by one in the console and send a 40-hour bill. But it's probably more fun to do something else with those hours. So some sort of automation. That's the only thing I can think of.
yeah, obviously a PowerShell script. Run it maybe against Graph. Thank you.
Of course. I mean, it's a shameless plug, perhaps also, but all the different solutions that you've seen here, for example, that we've been showcasing, that are a community solution, they typically have their background at some point in some sort of engagement with a company. So the initial work, I mean, they're consulting companies. They do this for a living. So if you need to have something built and you don't want to build it yourself, you can definitely get help and have that done. John and well, not Maurice because he moved to Patch my PC, but back in the days when he was still with Cloudway, they did tons of work in this area. So if you're interested in getting help, either reach out to me or Andrew, or reach out to Sandy and John, and they would be happy to help. And these types of engagements are often short, a couple of days at most of them. Obviously, it depends on what you want to build. But yeah, Eddie had a question there. I saw your hand.
Yeah, I got a specific question. Can you, for remediation scripts, if a device fails detection, is there like an event that you can send to something like Splunk?
Well, you can monitor the output through Graph. There is no notification for remediation scripts in the console, but you can monitor it through scripts.
I was just because we have a kind of a specific use case for integrating with Splunk, so that's why I was asking specifically with that. I didn't know if I know that there are certain events that you can send to Splunk from Intune, but I didn't know if that was one of them.
There might be some better integration that they built. So I don't know though.
Okay.
Haven't seen it. Sam is asking there what the minimum hours of consulting you engage with. 1. That's the minimum. But very few projects takes 1 hour, but we do 1 hour. All right. Then we are opening up for labs, and there are 2 labs that we will share this afternoon with you. I'll share them at once and upload them. And to Michael's question there about the hourly cost, is like $40,000 for that hour. No, we have packages available up on the Academy. Smaller packages you can buy like right away on the services page that we have. So they are depending on pricing package, how many. For larger amounts, it's usually a quote or a lovely paperwork with a vendor registration involved and a purchase order and all that fun stuff. But if you just need help quickly, you can just go ahead and buy ours right away. And we usually set it up fairly quickly. So we call them just consulting retainers. They're valid for a year.
That's
all right.
really not that bad. I've seen other organizations, pro-serve companies with far less skill sets charge that much.
Well, it's obviously it's not free, but it's not lawyer levels either. Somewhere in between. But yeah, those are the prices we charge. All right, let me get those labs up going. There is one lab around feature updates in Intune, and there is one lab on improving that. We do customization because Intune doesn't allow for that by default, but with some creative scripting, you can certainly do it. So let's go ahead and save those out. And Marcella was asking there, can you have multiple tenants in Intune? Yes, an organization can buy multiple tenants, and it often happens also through like acquisitions and they buy another company, and then suddenly they have 2 tenants to manage. But the same Intune portal can only connect to one. So usually MSPs and others or organizations that need to deal with multiple, they usually purchase a solution that offers like, okay, I have this configuration here, I need to apply it to 7 more tenants, and they go ahead and do that. So yeah. One thing I would like to mention before I forget about it. For those of you that decide to do the feature update lab here, it requires a Windows 11 compliant host. So long story short, Rogue 001 Pro 16 are okay. 17 and above are missing the right CPU requirements for Windows 11. They have a TPM, they have enough disk, they have storage, but they don't have the right CPU. So you have to switch host. So if you are on 17 and want to do the labs, you will switch to 170. Use the same credentials, just change number. If you are on 18, you will switch to 118. 19, you switch to 119, and so forth. So just pick a different host for the last lab. It has the exact same setup. You will spin up new VMs in it like you have done before. But for those additional labs here this afternoon. And also, if you want to test something else, you realize, okay, Windows Lab sounds cool. I want to play around with that, or whatever that might be. You want to do Windows 11 customizations, well, play around with that. You have a lab. It's available a couple of more days. As I said, I will keep them running until Sunday afternoon. The tenant will expire at that point anyway, so it's kind of okay. Yeah. So please remember that to change server for those labs. Otherwise, they will fail. It's a good learning, of course, also, but maybe not what you were intending. There was a reason for me deploying them that way. So I just need to get them uploaded to the dashboard together with all the scripts. Just give me a moment.
Do you have all of the scripts from the labs up on a GitHub somewhere?
Working on that as we speak.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, the GitHub list we have shared already in the chat. They are there and they're up on the dashboard already. But I will also give you a copy of every single lab script that was in the lab files folder that are matching the guides that you also get, because they are not all up on GitHub at this point in time. But you will get access to them. So. Just need a minute or two here to sort that out. To switch. Too many open. All right, that should do it. If you go to your dashboard, head over to this class, head over to the hands-on lights and sample scripts that I renamed it to. You should see the zip file that having all the scripts we've been using. And you will also see this one and this one that will allow you to both configure feature updates in Intune and also make them better, adding in driver support, adding in control, adding in additional configuration to them, some things that Intune doesn't support by default, but with a little bit of remediation script, we can fix it. And again, for those of you that decided to stick around with us this afternoon, plan is to end up around 3:30, but we are a little bit flexible on time there, of course. Just remember to switch hosts if you happen to be using Rogue 17 or higher. For those of you using these, just continue to use them as is, but don't forget to switch if you are doing that.
And we'll keep our lab machines till Sunday noon.
Yes, at the very least, I'll keep them running until then.
Okay. Can you post the order of operation again? Sorry, you mentioned that they should be done in sequence, or can they be done out of sequence?
Well, before you can improve the feature updates, you basically have to do 9B before you do 9C.
Okay, 9B, 9C. Okay, and then the last one.
That's just the sample scripts. A download
Okay,
from them.
gotcha.
You don't need them for labs. You have them on your host already. But I figured it'd be almost rude not giving it the scripts I've been using all week. So there they are.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
So Ivan's question, you can continue to use your existing student account even if you switch server. We don't lock them down to each host. So whatever you logged in with before, use that one, but just change box that you remote into. And it'll be good. Marcelo had a question regarding a lab for Entra. Challenge with labs for Entra is that Microsoft started to remove the good trials that they used to have. They used to have an MS E5 trial you can just sign up for and use. So unfortunately, you have to buy it if you want to have like everything available. That is the best option, to buy 2 or 3 user licenses. That will set you back about maybe $50, $60 a month, or your company rather, because they should pay for it.
Or a Visual Studio Professional subscription, which I think is $1,200 for a year.
Yeah, adds a little bit, but you also get some other good stuff, of course.
Yeah, I think as long as they haven't reduced the number of licenses, it's 25 E5 licenses.
Is that I thought they pulled Teams from that. I may have misread it.
They may have, but like even on let's say I've got a partner subscription coming up that has 5 or 10 E5 licenses in it that Teams is pulled out of the E5 subscription. But because of that, they also give you the same amount of Teams Enterprise licenses. So it could be like that.
Okay.
Alexandra was asking about the cutover is. If you mean the class today, we usually end around 3:30, but we probably stick around here until 4. As far as the lab machines, I will turn them off Sunday evening. So if I say Sunday afternoon, that they will be available until then. And that's also where the tenant expires that we've been using this week, because you only get those 10 days tenants that we buy for a short time.
Those PDFs are also going to be taken away, or will they be accessible?
Everything related to lab will be gone Sunday afternoon.
So the PDFs as well. Okay, gotcha. All right.
But no, the stuff you have in the dashboard, that's there for a long time. We say a year, but so far we haven't actually started removing anything from the academy since we started 5 years ago. It's just that we have that commitment to it will be available for a year. But the
I'm
remote
sorry, so
lab
the
access, the VMs and the tenant will be gone Sunday afternoon. What I'm showing you here on screen, the videos, the recordings, they are there for at least 365 days. So if you go, example, on day one here, you will see, here's Kent's session with his part that he was doing. So at least a year for that. It's just the things that we have to buy, the hardware and the tenants, they are unfortunately time limited.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
I just had one quick question. I think I missed the part when you said what time we had to switch VMs, hosts.
If you want to play around with the new labs that I uploaded, the 9B and 9C, then now will be that time.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You can be still connected to the old one. That's perfectly fine. If you have your admin console on that one, you want to use it, by all means do that. But the VMs needs to be created on these new hosts. Otherwise, the lab will fail. Did that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome.
Johan and Andrew, thank you very much. Enjoyed my time with you folks this week. Learned a lot. Look forward to working and following you guys in the future. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate your support of the Academy, and have a fantastic weekend when you get to it. And I might as well say this, if any one of you want to drop off now and call it a weekend, by all means, we certainly won't be upset. It's been a very long week for sure. And my extra thanks for those over in Europe that has been staying out late up in the evening every weekday here so far. My hat's off, all respect. That's a commitment right there, to staying up to close to midnight every day, including on a Friday. So I just want to say thank you to everyone when I have you here for being with us this week. Saying thank you to Andrew for being my co-host throughout all of these sessions, together with all the other instructors here on the Academy that have been joining us. But as always, I treasure these weeks. It's been fantastic for having you here, and thank you so much.
Likewise, I can't add too much more. Just thank you, Johan, and thank you everybody for joining as well. I love these weeks. I love doing this. It's so much fun. We learn a lot during these weeks, I feel like. And don't be a stranger. Join us for office hours. Maybe we'll see you at a conference in the future. You have our emails. You have our social media that you can get a hold of us. So hopefully we'll be talking with you all in the future as well. But thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh yeah, the Australia, Nickel. Yeah, that's also impressive. From midnight until morning. Sorry for the headache. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. We appreciate it. Likewise.
Hey, you guys' live session is every Wednesday on YouTube Live at 4:30.
Yes, sir. 4:30 p.m.
Awesome.
Central Time. Every Wednesday, 4:30. Have been a couple of weeks I haven't been able to do. One year it was Christmas, happened to fall on a Wednesday, and I wanted to live, so we didn't do it at that point. Otherwise, we've been doing it pretty much every Wednesday.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Yeah, if there's any I don't know, maybe private consulting, I'll definitely reach out to you guys.
Sounds good. We appreciate that as well.
agency is open to spending the funds. Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good.
Do you guys remember a Chris Colby and Ruben? Maybe they took your class a couple months back. They were also from the same agency I work for. I don't know if you guys recall their names. Christopher Colby and Ruben, I forgot his name. Ruben something. But yeah, they recommended me take this class. So they were prior participants of it. I was wondering
Not from the top of my head. We do meet a good couple of people. But we must have done something right since they said it was good and recommended that. So I'm glad to hear that.
Oh yeah. You guys were highly praised. Yes, absolutely. Okay,
All
cool.
right.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like we had them about a year ago in last May.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Last year. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I anticipate more folks from my side will be joining this course. I'll definitely recommend it.
I
So yeah,
appreciate that
you'll
too.
probably
Thank you.
more people. Yeah.
Yeah, fair and square. Take your evening over in the UK. And
A couple
thank you.
questions for you,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
No, that's why we're here.
You know, we have an interesting structure here at the college. Most of the, community colleges in California were kind of, there's several of us that have IT departments that don't take care of students at all. If your students call them up for support, they just say, nope, we don't support you guys, which is kind of odd. But so other departments do. So it's kind of really interesting structure set up. So I used to work with IT until probably like 5 years ago. Now I just run a computer lab here. However, everything that has to do with student equipment or technology, I'm the one handling here. So we have about 200 loaner laptops that we check in and out every semester. I'm the one handling here myself and some students that help. So right now we use MDT. In fact, create a new MDT, followed your guides that to make sure it works with 11 and works beautifully. I have no problem for the amount of applications that we install is very minimal. It's less than 10 and the laptops work pretty nicely. However, MDT is no longer supported, even though it's working fine. What do you suggest? I've given an option to, ask my IT department to set up, they are setting up Intunes. They are going to Intunes for the future. And I was given an option to maybe ask them to set up multiple admins or admins for other areas, or even create a brand new tenant. Because as an academic, I think we pay like maybe $10 a year per user, which is dirt cheap. So, and I don't know exactly MDT, I'm comfortable. I feel fine doing what I need to do. So do I want to go into Intunes? What do you think? How would you approach such a thing?
So Intune is systems management only. It cannot do any imaging, simply doesn't have it. So in place of replacing MDT, if you're looking for something that is free, I put the link here in the chat. I recommend the Deploy R Community Edition. It is free for a school to use or for any normal company to use.
Okay.
So a little bit of limitations, but yeah. And it's built by the same developer who built MDT, so you will recognize tons of stuff.
Oh,
so there are sequences and all of that stuff because it's built by the same person.
Okay. And especially because these laptops that are, in fact, they have one local user account. They simply connect to the internet with their own, whatever they want to use as credentials. and that's it. They don't use the college accounts or anything. It's just a single account there.
You can do pretty much what you did in MDT, you can do in
Okay.
Deploy-R, even the free version.
I see.
If you
Okay.
want a more functionality, then they also offer paid versions of it. And I know that as an academic organization, you don't even pay for the licenses, you just pay for the support. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
fairly, I mean, it's money, dollars that I have to find a budget from somewhere.
Right.
So, but still, it's not too bad.
Right. Okay. All right. And just in general here in the labs, there's something that is, I mean, we use deep freeze to keep machines state that always the same way once they get restarted. Is Intune capable of doing something like that?
The thing is, in Intune, like config manager is state-based.
Right.
If you start to revert machines, say for example, you work on the device, IME gets updated to a new version. Intune knows it was updated to a new version. The state changed on the device, and then you basically go back in time. It will mess up Intune at some point.
Okay.
It's in general not a good idea. I lost so many hours on deep freeze in my time because you have the same problem doing config manager. It's also state-based. It's same with VDIs when you have like non-persistent VDIs.
Right.
Like don't put an agent on them; it would be messy. So you can still deploy them through Deploy-R or MDT or whatever, but systems management on devices that are constantly going back in time, I would not recommend.
Okay.
It'll be a nightmare.
I see.
Unfortunately. Me and Deep Freeze, we are not on the best. We are not best friends. The thing is, I see the appeal, I see the likeness. We used to have hardware back in the days, but the disk itself was able to revert. Like, okay, that was cool. Like a card in the device you put in, physical, not software.
Oh, okay.
But it was the same concept. It reverted in time.
Right.
So, organizations using virtual hard drives to boot from, and they will have to work on a differencing disk. And when they were done, they will delete that differencing disk and start over again, back in time. Problem with systems management.
Yeah. Or would we have any way to just keep, what we're afraid is, I mean, I'm talking about, I do have students that pretty much, especially nowadays, we're on a there's quite a bit of rural area here and people in farms, so kids, just telling them, oh, go to here, and suddenly somebody previous modified, whatever, things in Windows, and now it's no longer what instructors are telling to go, and that's an issue. It becomes a nightmare. Is there anything that can kind of at least keep this, maybe keep settings as it should be always, or no?
There are certainly a lot of policies. If you manage their devices, right, you have a lot of options to lock them down through policies and apply configurations at all time. It won't be a true deep freeze because you don't revert to state, but you can at least make sure they have certain configurations applied to them. The challenge with students is that they're often very, very creative,
right,
and also have a lot of spare time, and that's a very bad combination.
Yeah.
Andrew can probably attest to this. He has worked with a lot of education folks over the years. He knows.
Yep. And a lot of what I've done is to try to dismantle some of the things that you're referencing, like deep freeze and stuff like that. But yeah, even for student laptops, loaner laptops, for example, um, enroll them, give them some basic policies. You mentioned, I think if it's a similar setup, it sounded like Central IT was going to be going towards Intune. I would go that route and have them set up role-based access, and you can manage manage those loaner devices that way. My personal opinion, and that will hopefully avoid a lot of headaches for you in the future, kind of the ones that you're referring to.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Mhm.
So a little bit of work to do it here.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, you know where to reach out if you ever want a second set of eyes on that type of stuff. I've always been on the other side, but worked with the distributed IT groups in colleges and things like that very closely for the majority of my career. Um, so I've seen both sides of what that looks like.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right. A note on the lab there, something I didn't think of. One of the labs requires the 25H2 VHD that you guys created on, I guess it was Monday. That one is still on your old host. So either copy it to the new one or rerun those scripts. Otherwise, I can probably just copy them out real quick to you guys so you have them. I'm pretty dangerous with PowerShells, so.
Johan, Andrew, I have a question when you have a minute.
Yeah, give me just one moment to start a copying of the script, and I'll be happy to. Or if maybe Andrew can answer that one while I'm copying.
Sure. Well, you can definitely try. What do you got?
Okay, so when we talk about DO, delivery optimization, I've been trying to get this configured in our environment for a while. But I'm getting pushback from infrastructure team, and the network team just isn't aware. We have a situation today where we've got a site flooding the internet right now. So my question is specifically around like Office 365. So if we have our users on current channel or monthly channel, my understanding is that they're getting those updates directly from Microsoft. Is that correct? Is there a way that I can override that to provide those updates via CM instead through software updates? Not recommended, can't do it.
You would have to change the. Sorry, I'm trying to do things. Andrew, reply.
Yes, you can do it through Config Manager. I've actually gone the opposite route personally, and just tried to tailor DO to be able to handle those things. Because sorry to butt in again, Johan, but DO should still handle the M365 enterprise app content no matter what, right? No matter what the channel or anything that it's on. So we saw that, if you recall, on, let me see if I've got something here.
So that's what I was trying to remember, is if the DO configurations handle the Office channels, and the answer is yes.
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 Okay, and then so you had also mentioned earlier in the week about Teams. So Teams is like right now a direct download from Microsoft Windows Update, but it will be going to DO.
Yes.
And when is it going to DO again?
It was supposed to go up in April, but they had some snags, and it also requires, if you're using connected CAS servers, they have to be upgraded to 803S to make that happen.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed to know.
Of course.
Of course. So this is what I was going to show. This doesn't look like much because it's just in my lab, and my lab is mostly managing just Windows. But you're, oh, that's not what I meant to do. So in the Windows update for business reports that we talked about a few days ago, there's the delivery optimization tab in there that we use. Oh yeah, I called this out to everybody else, Johan, and now there's no proof unless you go look at the recordings. But my bandwidth savings was at 96% the other day. I have witnesses.
Yeah, he has witnesses.
But you'll see Office has its own category right here.
Okay.
And really just the only reason that you see 0 in my lab again is I don't have it really installed on any of these devices.
Okay.
But it should be covered by DO and hopefully alleviate a lot of that pain that you're seeing.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Andrew,
Yes.
I envy you then. 98%. That's awesome, dude.
It's very, very, very easy to do in a controlled environment.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. But I wanted to still give you the kudos.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, mine needs a little bit of work. I'm about 60%. Work in progress.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, in production, I would say that that's pretty good. I know, Johan, usually you guys target like 60 to 80%, right? Is a pretty solid bandwidth savings.
Yeah, that is considered like a good configuration. Anything above that is more tricky to achieve. Consistently moving above 85 often requires an agent that does the configuration. But if you can manage that without an agent, my hat's off. That's a good job.
Yeah, I just more and more people with VPN. We're not doing split tunnel. Well, yeah, we won't go there. But yeah, we're just not going to be able to get too much better with VPNs.
Hey, if you got to 60, that's something to be celebrated, I think.
Yeah, these numbers are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are like 14 terabytes. It's like,
yeah.
Wow. Puts things in perspective when you start looking at some of these monitors and these graphs.
Yep. It really doesn't take much. I mean, I can't wait to see how Teams lights up a report like this.
Yeah, like Johan had mentioned, or maybe you. I mean, these cumulative updates these days are 4 5 gig. It's like, whoa, yeah, crazy.
They're huge.
That is brutal. Yeah, I have to say.
But Teams, you're right. Maybe can you expand on how Teams, because we have no control over team updates. I mean, it's always just gonna come down from Microsoft, or did you say that does honor DO?
They will.
Does that also honor peer sharing?
Yes, peering and caching.
Okay, thank you.
But you had, Johan, I don't remember if you wrote something about it or just referenced somebody else writing about it, or is just something you came across. I remember you talking about an organization that had literally seen terabytes of content, Teams content, in a very short amount of time.
30 terabytes in 2.5 days.
That's ridiculous.
That was stupid. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
On the topic of DO, how is there? Can you configure it to like automatically detect if the if the machine is on a VPN, then don't peer?
Yes.
How would you
It
do
does
that?
it does that by default. You
Oh,
have
okay.
to actually say that it shouldn't. There is a policy that says allow peering over VPN.
Oh, okay, got it.
Challenge is if you also have a connected cache configured, people go to that one nonetheless, unless they're also set a policy that says don't do peering over VPN when using a cache server. So effectively 2 policies that you have to configure.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I think I remember you saying that the settings that you have us configure in the lab are generally the recommended settings to start with.
Those are fantastic jump starts. Is settings. They might not be super optimal for like every single network topology out there, but they are wicked much better than the default ones. So
what's the strategy for going about how to configure those settings in a specific environment? Are there guides out there? Or?
not too much. It goes a little bit about trying to figure out what devices that are well connected to each other and make sure that they are configured to peer to only each other. So you don't have peering try to go above, cities or countries even. But for example, between floors in a building, those machines are often well connected to each other. They can peer all day long. But different campuses, if you go back to the school environments, probably not. Depends on your connection. Some campuses have like 10 gig fiber in between them, so of course that's no big deal. But no,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
That is more like a case by case. It depends on so many factors.
Yeah. The local peer discovery, DNSSD.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
It forces DO to just ask locally on the network for friends rather than asking Microsoft for friends, which is the default behavior. So every time a machine is to download a file, it's going to ask Microsoft, can I have this file? Thank you very much. And Microsoft may reply and say, yeah, I have the file, but you have 5 friends over that corner. Go grab it from them instead of grabbing it from me.
Does that require extra ports to be opened on like a local firewall?
On the client, it may.
I mean.
Depends on your setup. Usually it is allowed. But yeah, there are specific ports for that discovery. It's an IPv6 based type discovery.
We have we use Zscaler proxy and we have our antivirus configured to block anything that doesn't go through the proxy, so that we would have to open up whatever ports it uses.
Yeah, Zscaler has separate policies for that. Bruce, one of the MVPs, he did a post for up on MS Endpoint Manager folks around that. See if I can find it, because he was struggling with the same thing. So it's basically a guide on how to set it up for DO. But obviously, you probably have to involve your security folks. Let's see, there was a question on Lab B. You don't see PC number 4. The script that you run is supposed to create it. I think it's the last bullet on the first page or something like that. Let's bring up the lab. Yeah, step 6 on that page should create Intune PC number 4.
Okay, I'll run it again.
There was this, if you're using, are you using one of the newer hosts?
No, I'm on 11.
Oh, okay, then no. Then just run that script and it should create it. Otherwise, let me know and I'll help you. And yes, to Ivan's comment, it does take a couple of minutes to generate virtual hard drives, even if we have SSDs in every single box. That is true.
All right, John and Andrew, thanks again for everything. I'm gonna head out for the
Oh,
day.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes, pleasure was all mine. I did have a burning question. That cutaway blueprint. What Star Wars vehicle is that behind you? There's a blueprint diagram of some
Oh, that race
vehicle.
scooter, the speeder from Star Wars.
Oh, his speeder. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was curious what that was. All right. Nice. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thanks again. I'll definitely keep in touch and join your Wednesdays
Sounds
your
good. Thank you so
YouTube
much.
channel.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm curious how you set up the environment for the class with Intunes and Entra. You mentioned that you're pretty much, I guess you're paying for all the extra, right? I mean, for extra 30 tenants there or the Intunes?
Yeah, so we work with a partner. I mentioned that name earlier, Streamlabs.
Okay.
So we basically buy like 30 licenses from them, and when we activate them on their platform, the tenants gets created. So we went out at the very last weekday. So we wait until the Friday before the class, and they gets created for us. It's brilliant.
I see. Okay.
Otherwise, it'll be painful to go through registration of 30 tenants manually. That would be no fun.
Oh, I see.
No, we paid for that automation, so it's worth it.
Okay. You like, for example, if you want to redo like lab 1, 2, and 3, which is kind of really the intro to Intunes, just see, could you just have one tenant and create several admins? Kind of like if, let's suppose, kind of the idea if your company has multiple IT departments, each of them take care of one part of this picture here. Is it possible? Would it be possible to do such a thing?
In general, yes, but there are certain settings that you did in the labs that are tenant-wide.
Okay.
Like enabling automatic enrollment, like enabling Windows data to be collected, or verifying that we have the right licenses. But all the labs where you create a configuration profile or create applications, whatnot, as long as you assign it to a group that has a couple of test devices or users or whatever, it's only going to affect those. So there is absolutely no harm of creating like a new profile or a new app. It's also about who do you assign it to.
Okay.
So you can definitely do that.
Okay.
The reason for us recommending having a test tenant is that there is guarantee that you are not interfering with everything, and you can also get global admin access in that one, so you can do everything. If you want to test a new feature that your company haven't yet implemented, you can go ahead and do that without having to ask, for approvals or a board meeting or a cab or something like that.
And the environment that you set up, do you put guardrails where we can't go crazy?
The lab tenant that you have, you obviously could destroy if you wanted to, but in your company, that it depends on what permissions you have. But say if you do have global admin rights, you can go ahead and delete everything if you wanted to.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, me again. So DO, is a connected cache required configuration on your DP to make it work, or does it work independently of the DP?
There are two flavors of connected cache. One, you enable on a config menu DP if you happen to have one. The other one is standalone. It runs on Windows Server, it runs on Windows 11, it runs on Linux, and it's generally the better option because that's the one Microsoft is spending development money on. And it's free, absolutely no cost. It just runs as a container on top of Windows or Linux. It takes you maybe 10-15 minutes to set up. I have an implementation guide I can share that I wrote when it was announced. So I'm running 3 of them in our lab here because I don't want every VM that gets ever built to get starting to download 5, 6, 10 gig updates from all of you because that will nuke my internet connection. So this one, let's see. This one I've had a question there on DO. Default, no. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for attending. Ivan, I saw your comment there in the chat regarding always on VPN. Richard used to have a dedicated always on VPN session. I had missed to update the module to be about certificates. He did touch on it briefly, but there is a resource I would like to recommend. Richard may have mentioned it, but he wrote a book about the topic. The reason it got replaced a little bit is because always on VPN is moving over to what's called a global access client. Let me see here. So always on VPN Windows feature. Let me find the chat here again. Also recommend looking into this post here that covers both aspects of the global secure access platform, including private access. And especially take a look at the what's the differences are in that one. And I guess to answer your question earlier, is it complicated? Yeah, a little bit. It's a 350-page book to set it up. So, all right, Eddie, I saw your comment there. Thank you as well for joining. Have a lovely weekend, evening. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Likewise, I'm going to hop off. Need to take care of a couple of things before everything closes for the weekend.
Oh, yeah, sounds like a good plan. I'll be here for a couple of more minutes, but Andrew, again, thank you for joining, and I have a feeling I will see you soon.
I have a feeling you will. You'll probably hear from me this evening. But thank you, Johan, and thanks everybody for an awesome week.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a
Ivan, I don't know regarding the release date. I saw something popping up around updates for it, but Richard would be the right gentleman to ask for that one, I'm afraid. But he is pretty good at responding to questions, so see if he has anything on that vlog. last week you introduced blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is released. In February, I think. Should find the client in the admin center. Check this link here that talks about the installation of the client. Latest one is from June. All right. Hi, Nicole. Saw your comment there in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And yes, and as I mentioned, right, regarding that, I've been with a big fan of you from the deployment research onwards, and yeah, I think that's the place to go always. And then I joined the community, and it's been a really great support from you, and the team as well from Via Monster. So now, yeah, hats off. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for staying up all night just to being part of us this week. Impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
All right, Johan. Thank you so much for the week. And
Thank you,
most
Marcel.
thank you for all you do. I mean, all the information that you post there freely, it's a great help. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much. Take care. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. You too as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. All right, everyone. I'm planning to head out here in a little bit, but have any questions, anything I can help with at the moment? I see Peter's comment there regarding any source to see sample configurations from other companies and their design requirements. The only thing I've seen is a couple of case studies that Microsoft have provided. I did one for Pepsi last year, which is the largest, one of the largest Intune customers. But I haven't seen like any detailed one that you probably are looking for because they're all pretty high level. Nothing that comes to mind. Was there something specific you were after there, Peter, or just in general? Well, the best jumpstart configurations I know of is that open Intune baseline project. That those are good to start with. Those configurations, but I haven't seen like a repository of blueprints other than that one. But that one I think is pretty dang good. And Ivan there, yeah, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate your comment there. Likewise, it was good. And thank you to Ezra as well. And thank you back, Peter. Appreciate it. Again, thank you all for joining us this week. I'll be closing down the meeting now. If you have any questions, don't be a stranger. We try to help as much as we can. We have the community, we have the office hours. We are easy to find online, email, Twitter, LinkedIn. We are trying to make ourselves fairly accessible, or at least as good as we can. So once again, have a fantastic weekend, and hope to see you again at some point in the future. Thank you all.
Recording stopped.
All right.